welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
This city is a disease.
We've got Chris.
I'm the Spirit of Vengeance.
Very good, very good. And I'm Kia. Today we are talking about Ghost Rider. Ooh, he's not really a ghost. I guess kind of a ghost. He is a writer.
That's the CBS show where the children have a ghost that helps them solve mysteries.
No, not Ghost Writer. No. We're talking about Ghost Rider. He's like a flaming skeleton head guy who rides around.
He's the guy who wrote Donald Trump's autobiography, right?
No, not a Ghost Rider. No. It's a Ghost Rider because he rides motorcycles. But in this one, it's a muscle car. So we're talking about Ghost Rider because he's one of those characters who has always been around, and I just didn't know jack shit about him at all. I don't think I've ever read a single Ghost Rider comic in my life. And they are doing the character for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, which I'm a big fan of that show. I know you two don't watch it. And, he's shown up in the show now. They're a few episodes in, and I've really been enjoying the character. So I thought, hey, why don't we read where this character has come from? And what's kind of interesting is that there have been multiple people who have had the sort of Ghost Rider mantle. Chris, you mentioned the Spirit of Vengeance, and I don't know a whole lot about it. Just that this Spirit of Vengeance hops into a person's body and kind of takes over when it wants to become Ghost Rider.
It's also the subtitle of the second Ghost Rider movie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Spirit of Vengeance.
Wait, there were two Ghost Rider movies?
Yeah.
Yep.
So is Nicolas Cage on S.H.I.E.L.D.?
No, God no. They're doing a completely different one. Holy shit, no.
That would have been much better.
Oh, was he in both movies?
Yeah.
Yep.
They made two?
Yeah, they made two of them. The second one was directed by the Crank guys, Neville Dean and Taylor.
Is it good?
I don't think so.
It's not the best.
They have Eva Mendes in them.
Okay.
I've never seen them.
I haven't seen them.
Well, the idea, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Ghost Rider kills bad guys. That's kind of it,
He's
right?
the Spirit of Vengeance, like the Spectre, right?
Does he even kill bad guys?
I don't know.
He's got a flaming head. He rides a motorcycle. Those are like the two things I know about him. And then this book we're reading, he doesn't have a motorcycle.
And he has the penance stare, at least one of the versions of Ghost Rider. I don't think this one does. Which is basically he stares at you and all the bad you've ever done, like he guilt trips you over all of it. And depending on how bad you are, it can like put you in a coma, or you can walk it off if you're a pretty good person.
He takes your guilt for a ride, a guilt trip, ghost ride.
Ghost ride the whip.
Yeah, Ghost Ride the guilt trip.
Oh, I do know that Karen Page from the Daredevil TV series, she in the original comics left the Daredevil book and then hung out with. She hung out with Ghost Rider in his book for a while, so she ended up being Ghost Rider's girlfriend.
That's weird. Anyway, okay, so I feel like we don't know that much about Ghost Rider. We're just kind of like going around and seeing what we do know, which is good. That's why we're doing this. But the interesting is that this Spirit of Vengeance has inhabited a few people. So a few people have been Ghost Rider before, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. But we are talking about the newest one because that's what they are doing in the TV show. It's a new character named Robbie Reyes. He's a Hispanic kid who works in a auto shop, and he drives a muscle car instead of the traditional motorcycle. And I was kind of glad they were doing a new character rather than going back to someone who's got, all this loaded whatever, this history and everything. And I was really liking him on the show and thought, great, easy place to start because this character just debuted in 2014 with Marvel was kind of on a kick where they were renaming all their books to All New. So there's All New Ghost Rider, All New X-Men, All New whatever, all this and that. And so we're reading All New Ghost Rider 1 through 5. It's written by Felipe Smith with art by Trad Moore. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, but I was kind of flipping through and I was like, wow, this art looks really dynamic and kind of different from a lot of Marvel's typical stuff. Kind of cartoony, but not really. Kind of violent, but not really. Like very slight anime influences, but not really. I was like, all right, we'll see. I like different stuff, even if it isn't the typical style, even if it is a little weird. Like I'm all for trying different things. And man, I'm not going to lie, this book was terrible. Chris, Vince, sounds like you guys agree with me based on our talking before we started here, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's an all right concept. I think it's a thin story, and from issue to issue, not much happens. I think there's some opportunities to make the book a little better. I think it's probably like, I hate being this kind of person that like, I'm never like offended by like a bad comic. I'm just like, well, it's kind of ill-conceived.
This is what it needed. That's what it needed. We might talk about that a little bit at the end, like how we, our new segment on the show. How do we fix it? But Chris, just quick thoughts. What did you think of it? Usually we do this at the end, but we're doing it at the beginning. Chris.
It's really bad. There's the art. There's parts of the art that's dynamic, but there's also parts that are so like manga influenced. I'm just like, come on, this is stupid. And the writing is
manga fan though, right?
No, I'm not. And the writing is garbage. Like it is straight. Put it in the poop pile.
But all right. But I don't want to start off getting too negative. Like especially since I've watched the TV show, I already like the character, and I wanted to talk a little bit about him and kind of what I do like about him so far. And then we'll get into the comic and see where it goes, and maybe get into where it went wrong. Vince, were you going to say something else?
Yeah, I mean, the concept is pretty solid. It's like instead of Ghost Rider, he's always driving a motorcycle. He used to drive a horse, I guess, whatever at some point.
I don't think that one even counts.
Is that like kind of like a flashbacky Ghost Rider?
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the alternate universe ones or something weird like that.
No, Marvel had a Western comic called Ghost Rider, and then it had nothing to do with the current Ghost Rider. It was just like another cowboy guy, but he had a mask and stuff. So then later they're like, this is the Phantom Rider. They changed his name so that he wouldn't be Ghost Rider anymore.
Okay. I see. So, I mean, but like either way, the concept is generally he's a dude on a motorcycle, deals with like demons and hell and shit. And then this one was like, let's put him in a car. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. But and then like the setting of the first issue kind of reminds me a lot of the first Fast and the Furious movie. And I think that's intentional. Yes. I'm not
but somehow dumber.
Well, yeah, and Fast and Furious is a dumb series that somehow manages to like excel in its dumbness. Like it's like the perfect B movie. Like it really is. Like it's a B movie, action movie that knows what it is and it does it really well. But it's kind of like he works in an auto body shop. I'm not a car guy, but it seems like his car is kind of like Vin Diesel's car, where it's the kind of like black Dodge Charger with the little thing on the hood that kind of bumps up. Yeah, I don't know cars that well. People could be like,
neither do I.
People be like, that's not a fucking Dodge Charger. But I'm like, well, this is pretty solid. Like that's an interesting place to go with this book. And then it's Ghost Rider by way of Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. Cool. And then it immediately abandons that pretext after issue 1.
Yeah. And I'm just like, wait, what is going on? So here's what I like about the show. Like, he is this really quiet guy who works in an auto shop, kind of really wants to be left alone. He's cursed with this spirit of vengeance, and every once in a while it comes out and, like, really wants to kill some bad dudes, and he can't control it.
Like a Venom symbiote?
Kind of like that, yeah.
And it even talks in a black font? It really is a Venom book? What?
It does talk in a black font in the book, yeah. And it, like... the agents are like coming after him, like trying to figure out who he is, and the slow transitions, like him turning into Ghost Rider when it's time to fight, all work really well. He's also got a little brother who's in a wheelchair who he's like trying to take care of, and so it's like, oh, he's just a misunderstood guy. He's a normal dude. He has a heart. Maybe he's not so bad, and trying to figure this character out and who is he. And one of the things, of course, that I think most people these days are kind of tired of origin stories, and this book is his origin story, the first issue. But there's something weird happening with this first issue where, I don't know, I've never seen a book do so much and so little at the same time. It's really weird. Like, it kind of jumps from place to place really fast, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Now he's in a street race? Why did he need money? I thought, like, what's going on? He trusts his boss? Is his boss a bad guy or not a bad guy?
Yeah,
like,
it's weird because, like, so he's, trying, I guess his little brother is being terrorized by, like, bully kids at school and got He got his wheelchair stolen, and so
Which I was like, this scene is so bad right away. I was like,
It's
what
very
is going
bad. Yeah.
It is literally a child in a wheelchair who's by himself for some reason, first of all. And then second of all, these barrio like stereotypes are like, this is our wheelchair now, crippled kid.
right.
Yeah, and they're like riding around in it. And
This conversation actually reminds me of it's like a podcast I just listened to, but it was actually your podcast, Your Stupid Minds, Chris. I think your Boy Next Door episode where you talked about like, are we just told that bullies like this exist? That, like they're bullies that just steal kids' wheelchairs, like the bullies from Stranger Things, and like I mean, there's bullies that'll beat you up and be jerks, but like these aren't real bullies, right? Like these kind of bullies.
They're over the top, like they're way over the top. Yeah, and they're like blatantly using, like they're calling him a retard and everything. And my mom's like, "Holy shit!" Like right out the gate, like damn, I didn't even understand where our new setting was, and like we're talking about this. Like, all right, whatever.
So then he like enters a street race to like get money to buy a wheelchair or something. But then like he's shot up, and then there's drugs in the car, and I'm like,
yeah, like
I didn't realize he stole the car.
He took a car from the shop, and I couldn't even tell who was after him, but they like catch him in the middle of this street race because they're looking for the car and they want to get their drugs.
Right.
And
he thinks it's the police and that he's screwed up. And
the reader thinks it is too.
Yes. What's also stupid, I don't want to jump over this because we've all seen these Fast and the Furious movies. He shows up and it's straight out of 2001. You know, like all the fashions, everything is like very late 90s, early 2000s, ghetto culture. I don't know if this is supposed to be a parody or a pastiche or if they think this is like maybe the Marvel Universe is like this. But he just shows up and he's like, "Oh, I bet my car on this race. Let's go." And the next, it just cut to he's in the race. I'm like, wait a minute, I saw those movies. Like, show the pink slips, you jerk.
Yeah, give me something to show that it needs money.
There's a lot of action missed in between each panel in this book, which I think makes it very difficult to like follow. Like the sequencing.
Yeah, it's hard to follow, and part of that, the sequencing is bad, and the writing doesn't do a lot. But between the writing and the art together, like there's not a lot of clarity in what exactly is happening, and so I think that's part of the problem.
I think a lot of the problem. It feels like Tradd Moore may not be a very like. This may be one of his first gigs. I read the editor Mark Panichet or whatever his name is. Like it seems like it was an editor concept first. Like I want Ghost Rider in a car by way of Fast and Furious, and then he took like pitches for it. Is what the feeling I got, and which then seems like they just assembled a team that had never really worked together to just kind of put the book together, and neither one of the writer or the artist are particularly well seasoned to compensate for the other one learning the ropes.
Because either one of them, I was kind of looking them up. They haven't done a ton. Like Tradd Moore's mainly done covers, which kind of makes sense with that style of his. And Felipe Smith has done some manga, I guess, is all I could really find. Not a whole lot else. So
there is one really cool page in this though, is when he's about to be caught by the cops, and they show it's a one page or with like his face and then like several panels behind Robbie's face of like what his future would be if he gets caught by the cops, and how just like his entire life and his brother's lives are just fucked. And I'm like, okay, this is a really good like silent, like letting the art tell the story picture. I thought that was a great page.
There's a great 2-page spread of like the race starting where it's like going real quick between like the speedometer and him like doing all the little pieces of the like foot on the gear, hand on the gear, foot on the pedal, that sort of thing. And as the race is starting, like I really like these sequences. Those are the ones that kind of grabbed my attention as I was going through, and I was like, wow, very, very dynamic art style. It kind of does look like a speed racer kind of thing. Like I'm looking at this going, this is really cool. I want to read this, but it just doesn't do a good job of telling a story. It works a good art piece, but that's it.
So if you liked all the car shit, you're going to have 4 more issues of a lot of the car, right?
Not really. Yeah, there's not a whole lot more of the car.
The car talks more. If you like Knight Rider, I guess.
I love Knight Rider.
Wait, the car doesn't. Well, I guess the car, it kind of does talk. It's like a. So here's the other thing that I didn't understand. The car was haunted as well? Like it had drugs in the back and it was haunted?
Yes,
and it was stolen, but he was. I'm very confused. But
there's a lot happening.
So is the Ghost Rider
The
spirit?
text thing says it's haunted. Yes.
Yeah, oh boy.
This isn't the real Ghost Rider spirit. This is just some haunted car.
Yeah, the other thing that comes up later, like this guy is named, the Ghost Rider spirit is named Eli something or other,
Eli
and I
Morrow.
don't know if that Eli Morrow is that at all related to any of the other Ghost Riders?
No, it's just going to be an arc where we find out he's a bad guy in the next arc. So stay tuned for that, I guess.
Right. No, I'm not gonna. Spoiler alert: I'm not gonna keep reading this. But
you just ruined the final segment, Kia.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Well, it's all right. No one cares. So the other thing, I guess, let's just jump to issue 2, and what we find out is that those drugs in the back belonged to, I think, to Calvin Zabo, aka Mr. Hyde, who is a pretty cool character in the Marvel Universe. He's also appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., portrayed by the wonderful Kyle MacLachlan. Yes, he was fantastic.
Twin Peaks.
Absolutely love him in the show. Yeah. Really, I think if you're going to watch any season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's season 2. Like, that season was amazing because it's all about him. And, yeah, it's his drugs because it's some new scientific thing that he's created, but it fell into the hands of some, like, barrio gangbangers, and...
Is that Grumpy? Was that his name?
I don't know.
Yes.
Grumpy, yeah. And, like, that was his car, but I don't understand. I still don't know why he stole it from the shop and what's going on there. And these drugs, like, turn people into, like, crazy, kind of, like, hulked out, like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of creatures. Like, some girl at a party that they're hanging out with takes a drug, and she's like, get off me, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. And it's all just, like, very over the top, and I don't know. That's part of my problem with the book, is that the villain just seems so disconnected from the idea of Ghost Rider. Like, I don't know why they're doing Mr. Hyde as the villain for the first arc. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but
because he was available, and this book isn't going to last more than a year.
Yeah, I guess that's it. And Mr. Hyde's like looking for his drugs, and the whole time Robbie's like, figuring out, oh, this Ghost Rider spirit is taking me on. Oh, did we mention the cops like shoot him up and kill him, but Ghost Rider brings him back to life? Like, that's the big main thing. Like, he should have been dead, but he doesn't. He lives.
But he's not. We should probably establish he's not the Ghost Rider that we know from like Nicolas Cage. He's just a ghost in a car.
Right.
Yeah.
That possesses people and kind of makes a firehead.
Yeah. It's, again, the art, I kind of like it, but it doesn't really look like fire. It looks like long lines of orange and yellow in a weird way. Like, part of me likes it and part of me doesn't. I don't know how
and speaking of the art, I don't like people turning into hulked out monsters. I didn't like it in what was it, Apocalypse versus Dracula? It's very similar in that regard, where people just kind of like weirdly hulk out with like weird grotesque muscles, and it's not even like fun like a Cronenberg. It's just kind of like, okay,
I guess
they're a monster now. Cool.
I guess heart attacks just don't happen in the Marvel universe. Like, anytime you would have a heart attack, it's like, no, you have superpowers now.
So, like, but I mean, this is where the book gets really confused for me, because Robbie Reyes, our hero, doesn't even know that he's got a car full of drugs or I guess he doesn't have it anymore because Hyde took it back, or whose goons took it back. But they're also trying to take it back from the drug dealer. But then the bullies from the school are also being hired by Mr. Hyde just to be shitty. And then is that what's going on? And then there's like
it's a tangled web.
He's also having like problems in class, but his teacher's really cool, so it's not a problem.
No, but it's a substitute teacher that's there for like a long time that's somehow like invested in shit, which is it seems like it's his scientist guy, because he kind of hints that he knows about the Ghost Rider stuff, but I don't know why he would. So either he's going to turn out to be a villain in the next arc, or his scientist.
Yeah, he probably will turn out to be a villain. He's nothing right now. He's basically acting out the plot of the movie The Substitute. So
starring Treat Williams.
Exactly. Actually, I think that Substitute 2 had Treat Williams. But Tom
Berenger?
there's so many. Yeah, Tom Berenger was the original. There's so many things going on, and none of it's good. Like that's the thing that we should really.
None of it makes sense together. None of it like ties in. None of the dialogue is good. There's no clarity. It all just like it's these weird vignettes that don't tie together really well, and it's really difficult to read as a whole. But the whole thing with the little brother, I'm just like, I don't care in this book. I love that idea in the show, but I'm reading this and I'm like, you're kind of ruining this great idea for a character.
Yeah, kudos to this book for making me want a person who is portrayed as both physically handicapped and possibly mentally, developmentally delayed. I wanted him out. Like, just take him out of this book completely.
Yeah.
Kudos to that writer for making me really dislike a character.
We didn't bring it up in the first issue after those bullies are like picking on the wheelchair kid and Robbie Reyes shows up to protect his brother. It's not even like a heroic moment that makes us fall in love with the character. He just shows up and instantly starts punching everybody and then gets beat up. And I'm like, you have to write something to get us to like actually care about.
That's just like how Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
And he's a hothead. Okay, yeah, I don't care too much about the Fast and Furious franchise, but I'll take your word for it.
I think it was a missed opportunity to not just like that. That would be like, how you fix it? Make it more like Fast and Furious, less like you were there, and then you're like, yeah, let's not do that.
Well, and like one of the cool things about the Fast and the Furious movies, which has gotten to cartoonish levels now, where Vin Diesel is talking about Paul Walker's brother and CGI to keep that character in the movie. But one of the important things is like that Vin Diesel has these friends that are like his family, and it's a big deal to him. Robbie Reyes just has his stupid brother who I hate, and no one else. Like there's no one for him to talk to at all in this book. So it's just like
I thought maybe the boss would be like a good character, like bounce stuff off of, but they establish in like the first page that maybe he can't trust the boss, and it never really comes back.
And then the boss is murdered.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot that happened because I just care so little about everything in this book.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's like really good about Fast and the Furious is like don't let them get back in cars because cars are their like superhero Iron Man costumes. Like they can do anything in cars. And then it's like Ghost Rider's never in his fucking car in this book. Like, well, why?
Yeah.
Like have it like a big race or some shit. Like, don't just fight a Hulk monster or like, I don't know, like have to be running from a Hulk monster that's chasing you, but driving away from it. I don't like a Crash Bandicoot level. Just something. I don't give a shit. But like, not this.
Something that involves, quickly moving from point A to point B would maybe be a good idea instead of this. I don't even know.
Yeah, it felt a lot like the Flash Thompson Venom book, but not as good.
Yeah, I really like the Flash Thompson Venom book that I've been reading. Like, it's kind of interesting, and it's him like overcoming the Venom thing and like fighting out in space and meeting a cool panda lady and who kicks ass. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, he wants to be a hero, like his hero Spider-Man, but he's got like a fucked up power that's like because the Eli Morrow ghost I don't think you can trust in this book. And it's kind of the same thing. You can't trust the Venom symbiote. It's just done a lot better in that book, and even that book has like kind of like weird, grotesque, like Tony Moore art that's not very good. That I don't particularly like it rather, but.
Oh, I like it a lot.
But it just doesn't come together the right way in this book. Like nothing just comes together, and it's just like my biggest note. And I think Kia, you said is like I've never read a book that has more happening and nothing happening issue to issue.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like I don't know where it's just like it's so goddamn bizarre to me. I don't know.
Right. Well, and
next
I mean, it's
few
just
issues. There's fighting. Oh, sorry, Chris. What were you gonna say?
It's just the issue is there's just so many stock characters that mean nothing, and I don't care at all about what any of them are doing. I was also going to say, though, since you were talking about that Venom book, it reminds me of the 90s Static comic, and by extension, the cartoon, except it's kind of the opposite, because that was good. But it does have like this cartoonish bully who's like, are you going to get superpowers, or are you just like this Flash Thompson for the modern age, where he's just like a psychopathic, like why is he even in school?
Wait, he's in school in that? Maybe I haven't read the stuff you've read. I've read the more recent ones where he's out in space. So
no, we're talking about Static Shock.
Why Robbie Reyes is in school? I see.
Are you talking about Static Shock?
We're talking about too many things.
We're talking about just like this book, and yet nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
We're talking about too many things, and it's all over the fucking place, and none of it makes any goddamn sense.
Static Shock, just in the way that all of his high school bullies then get superpowers and he has to fight them, kind of thing.
I see. Okay. Sorry,
R.I.P. Dwayne McDuffie.
I was like, I thought Venom was out in space. He's not in school. Anyways, go read that Space Venom book if you get a chance. It's good. Don't read all new Ghost Rider. So yeah, last few issues. Not a lot happens that I can remember other than fighting and beating up Mr. Hyde.
Oh, and it does the stupidest thing. It does this. Well, yeah. I think the stupidest thing is Robbie Reyes has a pretty cool art. Robbie Reyes has a pretty cool art design where he's got like kind of like black hair flipped out and then kind of like I don't know, like a bleach stripe. You know, it's very 90s, early 2000s look. And then just like in issue 3 or 4, he just shaves his head and becomes like boring protagonist shaved head dude for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And all the other characters like comment on like, that's stupid. Why has he got to be like every other person like that? But I'm also like, did you just not want to draw the hair anymore? Or like, what's up? Because that was it was like a nice visual distinctive look for him. Does he have that on the TV show?
Gosh, I don't remember what he looks like on the show. I can't remember. I think he's got relatively short hair. It doesn't. His hair is not what I'm drawn to as a character.
I just think it was like a nice visually distinct look, and then like
you're right.
Like in a thing of where the art is kind of like blah to me in that regard, and then they just shave his head, and I mean like every single video game protagonist of the last 10 years has just had a shaved head, so it's kind of like
he just looks like everyone. Yeah. And the way he beats the villain, he doesn't even beat the villain. The villain beats himself because Mr. Hyde
villain
decides he's gonna. I don't
Grumpy?
know. Mr. Hyde just decides. Grumpy. Wait.
Mr. Hyde beats Grumpy.
Who is who? Okay, Grumpy. Somebody. One of them. I don't know.
Both of them eat a bunch of pills.
Of the drugs, and the pills like counteract with what's naturally in their body, and it like. I don't know. I did not care. I'm done.
But he does nothing. The important thing is that Ghost Rider accomplishes nothing.
Yes, Ghost Rider accomplishes nothing.
What happened was the SWAT guys attack the stereotypical gangster guys. They kill all of them except Grumpy. Grumpy becomes a Mr. Hyde-like creature. He kills a bunch of the SWAT people. Then Mr. Hyde shows up and kills Grumpy. Then Mr. Hyde defeats himself against Ghost Rider. And I guess Ghost Rider is the hero of the town.
Hooray! Yeah.
This book is so like I really got to the point. I know you were checked out. I got to the point where the only enjoyment I was getting was reading the dialogue because it is so bad.
It's really bad. You guys. I'm sorry. I'm the one who suggested this, and I apologize. But Chris, you were gonna point out some specific dialogue.
I'm gonna read this scene. So this scene is 2 henchmen are driving Grumpy away from where he's been attacked by the SWAT people and he's taking a bunch of pills. And I don't think we knew who killed Robbie's boss, but don't worry, they're going to tell us. So they're driving away from a shootout. And oh my God. Okay. Kahaha. Fool's eyes were all big and shit. Yo, he was crapping himself. Makes you think he was innocent and bleep. He probably was, eh? But we shot him up anyway. Gahaha.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of like bleeped out profanity in this book too, which feels like just not essential at all.
That's
like
real,
I don't know. It doesn't add.
It is weird though that they don't bleep out him saying retard, but other like slurs against the mentally handicapped they do bleep out, which I was like, that's. I probably would have done the R word too, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so I think my first apology to you guys was last year for Star Wars Dark Empire, and your apology is now all new Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
So next year, Chris, what are you going to apologize for? We'll find out later.
Well, I mean, I think I apologized for, even though it was a parody episode, the
Not Brand X.
Not Brand X.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad. Yeah. But that's okay. It's all right to read a bad one every once in a while because it is still kind of fun to talk about it. So let's move on to our new segment. How do we fix this shit? Vince, what's your recommendation? How do we fix this book?
I say either ditch Grumpy or ditch Mr. Hyde and just have one villain. I think that clears up a lot of confusion. There's too many warring factions that are both of them are incidentally against our protagonist. Neither one of them is focused on our protagonist. So
Yeah.
So it seems kind of weird. They're not teamed up. They're both against each other. It's kind of like warring gangs that he's not even caught in the middle of it because they're both kind of mad at Ghost Rider. So like I would just like keep Mr. Hyde or I would say keep Grumpy, so at least you're establishing like a new villain and you can kill him during the book. And I think that refocuses the book a lot better. Just simple like
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Chris, do you have any particular ideas for how to fix the book?
I mean, there's a lot of things. For one thing, I think it would be a lot better if I understood what the deal was with his brother. There's just so little information. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is he, like I said, is he developmentally disabled as well as physically disabled? Like, why? I don't understand why a high school child is able to be the legal guardian of this kid. But then more than that, just kind of to fix it up. I mean, you need a supporting cast. You need, I think as stereotypical as he is, having sort of one bully that's against him could work. But the way it's handled, just like the way everything is handled in this book, is really bad. I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have one sort of Flash Thompson kind of guy, that could work. You kind of need to tone him down to like where he doesn't seem like the villain of a substitute movie. But yeah, that's the thing I would say is that, one, you need a supporting cast, and two, you need things to actually fucking happen in your comic, because you're saying like a lot of things are happening, but we're just seeing vignettes of these side characters doing nothing. Like you need shit to actually happen. And like, I know I am an apologist for like comics of the 70s and 80s and that stuff, but like the first issue of this comic would be the first quarter of a number one issue in the 70s. Like it would be like, okay, he's got the Ghost Rider powers now, let's go. Because like they know that nobody gives a shit about all of this other stuff that's happening. Which is not to say it couldn't work, but it's just like, that's not what we want to see.
Well, no, I bought a book that says all new Ghost Rider on it, and I'm like, cool. What's this mysterious force that's attacking our hero? You know, that he's suddenly bathed in. Like, I know what fucking Ghost Rider is. Like, even if I haven't read a book, I know what it is.
Right. The cliffhanger of issue 2 is he's like, what are you? And he's like, what are we? It's like, you're Ghost Rider.
And I think that
$8 later.
You're right, yeah. That gets me to my recommendation for how to fix it. Like, just don't do the fucking origin story anymore. Like, even I think the new Hulk book has been doing a really good job of it. The Totally Awesome Hulk, because it's a new character being the Hulk, and they don't show you how. They just show you him in action, and little by little reveal how he got to that point. Like, you don't need to give us the whole origin story all at once. Just like give us the interesting stuff, and then little by little reveal sort of how we got to that point. But start with the good stuff. Don't start with all this like bullshit and this street race and stuff because I mean the first issue has nothing to do with Ghost Rider, and we learned, he's becoming Ghost Rider. Like we knew he was going to become Ghost Rider. I get it. I'm tired of origin stories in that way. Just get to the good stuff and reveal it later. That's what I think.
And I know a lot of popular characters, in comics did start with origin stories, but like Wolverine, arguably one of the like top 5 biggest, did not start with an origin story and was much cooler before we knew what it was.
Exactly.
Well, and I love that. We're gonna have to read this one of these days because I love how like efficient Amazing Fantasy 15 is. The first appearance of Spider-Man. It's like page 1. He's bullied. Page 2, gets bit by a spider. Page 3, I'm fucking wrestling. I got powers. Page 4, Uncle Ben's dead. Page 5, oh shit, it was the bandit. Okay, end. Like that's literally how fucking efficient it is. Like,
right. It's so fast.
And the movies take like an hour to get to that same place that 5 pages do. Like,
right. But it establishes the high school characters. It establishes like his home life, and then it's like, okay, we've established that. Now let's get to the Spider-Man.
Yeah, and that story stuck with me though. It was still like well written. It wasn't like blah blah blah. This is what happened. It wasn't like just me reading like a recap. Like,
Yeah, you actually care about the character. I'll say this: the recaps for All New Ghost Rider were better than the book itself. Like I just read the recaps and go, okay, so that's what happened. Okay, cool. All right, recaps. All right,
The editor
recap. Just
probably
read the
wrote
5
that.
recaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need. You don't need the rest of the issue. Ugh, boy. Yeah. Again, sorry guys, this is
It's
pretty
okay.
rough.
It's okay.
It happens.
You can't win them all.
Can't win them all. Can't win them all. Anything else we? Oh yeah, our final recurring segment. You gonna keep reading this?
Hell no.
Nope. Hey. Yep.
There's only like 7 more issues of it before it either gets restarted or something. But
Yeah.
I would
yeah.
Do we have other recommendations for other Ghost Rider books though? I don't think you've read a single Ghost Rider book, have you, Kia?
So the only other one that I've read is Ghost Racers, which took place during the big Secret Wars event, which is it's kind of hard to explain, but just like this big kind of weird alternate universe sort of thing where everything was jumbled up and combined, and it was kind of Marvel's way of just having fun with everything that they had, like all their properties. And they had a book called Ghost Racers, which was about how all the Ghost Riders are being forced to race against each other, and it was a really neat concept, and actually did a good job of playing with like why Robbie Reyes was involved in this race and being forced to race and like trying to protect his brother. Like I really liked it. Plus, it was filled with good stuff like that cowboy Ghost Rider, Phantom Rider, whatever, and all the other previous Ghost Riders and all that. It was a neat concept. I'm glad I read it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it though, unless you were a big Ghost Rider fan. Did you want to recommend anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'll recommend instead of this, I would recommend the Ghost Rider series from the late 2000s, early 2010s by Jason Aaron. I think it's just called Ghost Rider. It was in an omnibus. I'm sure it's on Marvel Unlimited also. It's kind of Ghost Rider. It's both of the previous Ghost Riders, Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze. It's the current Ghost Rider teaming up with the previous Ghost Rider. And then it basically is just Jason Aaron, who wrote like Scalped, writes Southern Bastards, wrote Original Sin. If you know that.
Yeah, he's writing Thor right now.
He
writes
and
a
the
lot.
Star Wars book. The Star Wars book that's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, it's just his attempt to write Preacher in the Ghost Rider universe. So basically, like, Ghost Rider fights like evil nuns, which, makes sense because he's kind of like a demon. And it's got that kind of frenetic energy of Preacher. So if you were jonesing for more Preacher, more Hellblazer, John Constantine stuff, Jason Aaron kind of does a weird facsimile of it with Ghost Rider, and it's fine. So
okay, yeah, cool. Chris,
it's also 24 issues like total. So it's really easy.
Right. Chris, what do you got?
I'm not a big fan of Ghost Rider. I've read some of his 70s comic, which I don't think is very good. I read some of his 90s comic, which I also wasn't a huge fan of. But anyway, I remember as a kid reading a little crossover comic called Spirits of Venom, where Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze, and Venom team up in the sewers of New York. So I'll recommend that story. It involves a lot of crazy art of Venom, being evil, and Ghost Rider also kind of being evil, and Johnny Blaze shoots a shotgun that has hellfire in it.
Oh, cool!
It's got everything that you want when you're like 13. So
does it have the Vermin guy from Kraven's Last Hunt in it? Because he lives in the sewers.
I don't know if it has him. I think it has the not Hobgoblin, but like the Demi-Goblin or whatever.
Yeah, Demi-Goblin. I love him. He's cool.
I do not know who the Demi-Goblin is.
He's just a Hobgoblin or Green Goblin, but with like a fire head. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So like 10-year-old me.
He's actually a demon.
Yeah, 10-year-old me is like.
I'm a sucker for fireheads. Yeah. All right.
So there's a lot more options.
Any last words on Ghost Rider before we finish this one off? Nope. Sounds good. All right. Join us next time because, hey, guess what's coming out soon? Doctor Strange. I'm really excited for this one. I think all the trailers have looked great. This crazy, like, magical stuff. And so we're going to read a Doctor Strange comic from 2007. One of the things that's weird that I've noticed about Doctor Strange is I often don't care about his individual stories. He often is cool when he kind of shows up in someone else's stories or in a big crossover and kind of gives you the magical stuff. But I'm excited to read this one. It's by Brian K. Vaughan, who I think might now be the person we have talked about the most on the show. He did Runaways, he did Paper Girls, he did Why the Last Man, which we haven't talked about yet, a bunch of other stuff. And it's just a self-contained little 5-issue miniseries called Doctor Strange: The Oath. So we're going to read that and check it out and get ready for the movie and get excited. Art by, what's his name?
Marcos
Martinez. Sorry.
Yeah, he did the Private Eyes with Vaughn recently also. He did the Mark Waid Daredevil for like an issue or two, and the Dan Slott Amazing Spider-Man.
We didn't really like the last Brian K. Vaughan thing that we all read together, which was Paper Girls, but I think this one is supposed to be good. I haven't read it. Vince, I think you've read it before.
I read it. I loved the first issue. I don't remember the rest of it, though.
It's
great.
good.
Sounds exciting. Can't wait. Chris, you said you've read it?
Yes, I've read it. It's good. It is better than all new Ghost Rider, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be hard not to be.
I think it's been called like the best Doctor Strange book of like the last 20 years or whatever, so...
All right.
I don't think
probably, but there's not a ton of competition.
Yeah,
last 20
exactly.
years.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Like
although Jason Aaron, who we talked about earlier, is writing the Good Ghost Rider. He's also writing Doctor Strange right now, and I've actually been enjoying his Doctor Strange quite a lot. He does a really cool thing with the character. I won't really spoil it.
Jason Aaron doing Mystic stuff. That sounds interesting. Usually writers of his type don't do very well with that type of genre.
Well, and Chris Bachalo is the artist, right?
Oh, fuck. I love Chris Bachalo.
Yeah. He does it's a good combo. Overall, I'm really enjoying that. So we'll talk more about Doctor Strange next time. Other than that, I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I hope that you did not read this shitty book that I recommended, and hopefully you will read Doctor Strange and join us next time.
If you found this episode because you're a super fan of All New Ghost Rider, you can still like it. We just are not fans of what this book is.
Let's not tag Felipe Smith and Trad Moore in this episode, and I don't think they're going to appreciate what we have to say.
It's okay if you enjoy this book. We're not going to say don't read it or anything. But
like I said, I'm sure there's an audience. I'm sure people enjoy it. After all, they based the freaking character in the TV show off of it, right? So somebody had to like it. Hey, you know what? Thanks so much for listening. Chris, thank you. I love you.
Okay.
Wow. Didn't get any response from you. Vince, thank you. I love you.
You're welcome.
No, I love you's back. Jeez. All right, audience, I love you. And I assume at home you're saying, I love you too, Kia. Great. Oh, wow. How sweet. I love you guys. All right. Talk to you later. See you next time. Bye.